Hello, everybody. Isn't that a nice intro? I thought I'd start my video with a small intro, and yeah, that was the Pink Panther theme. Anyway, yeah, welcome to my video, and nice to see you. And what I want to talk about is something I found out and think it's really interesting, and it's about trendlines. And trendlines, not the classical way like we know and draw trendlines. This is a way how Gann probably drew his trendlines and would probably do it still if he would be alive. So I stepped over this system or this study to draw trendlines on my research, and thought it would be good to share it with you, because I think you get some really value and interesting information about a chart price action. So let's just get into it. What do we need for that? So for this trend lines, of course, we need the trendline tool. The trendline tool is on the left side. If you click on this, it's just the first one. And for everybody who doesn't know it, that you can make some kind of a favorite list of your tools. There is a star on the right side, which is hollow. But if you click on it, it will turn it into yellow. And you can create some kind of a toolbar here just on the screen, that you don't have to go in the menu here on the left side and search for your tools and so on. But okay, anyway, we want to use the trend line. So everybody should know what a trend line is, yeah? And but we need these trend lines, but with some specialties. What we need is, if you double click on the trend line, you can go in the settings and have several ways to pimp your trend line. And what we need is here on the bottom. I mean, here are some other really cool stuffs, but maybe I will get to that in another video. For this video purpose, we need the last two ones, the show angles and always show stats, because like you see now, we've got an angle shown from the trend line, and always show stats is for that it shows it always and not only when I click on the trend line. Anyway, so now I can always see my trend line, and if you see now, if I change now the scale of the chart, if I zoom in and out, the angle of my trend line will also change. So for the purpose of drawing these trend lines, we need to lock our scale, so lock the chart so that it always stays the same. So you go in the settings, lock price, and here it is not important. For the purpose of this video, let me say it, it's not important how you scale the chart, just lock it, so that your angle of the trend line always stays the same, So, and now we can dive into the chart, and we've got our trend line here, and maybe you see on the first side that we've got here an obvious downtrend, but the chart is more or less moving in some kind of a pattern and on like similar moves, but we get into that now. So if you got your trend line, what we need next is are two pivot points for some kind of a initial move. So for that we will choose, I don't take this on purpose, so let's take this one here, because this looks like an really initial move. And so we take our trend line and go to the highest bar, which is on the left side, I mean, there's also another conversation what is something different for itself. What is better, line chart or candles, means candle bodies or wicks and tails, but I don't want to get into that. For this purpose, I use the candlestick chart with the whole move. Yeah. So we take the pivot point here, and we take another pivot point, because this is obviously an initial move with a retrace. So I take this as my second pivot point, the pivot low. So from high to low, this is our range. And now what you will see is that this trend line has an angle of -74. Maybe let's get into this. Why 74? Because if you draw the trend line, you will see the zero line is here. If I go up, the angle will go up, and up to, if I go straight up 90 degrees, 180, and now when I go lower, it doesn't go over 180, it goes in the minus. So because if we go back to 0 here again, and you go down, you will see it starts to count minus 14, 15, blah, because this is -45, means 45 degrees below this 0 point. So it goes clockwise, up, 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 till 180 again, yeah, and so on. So this -74 degrees, 74 degrees below the 0 point. Now, what we need next is a second trend line. And this second trend line, how do we draw that? I mean, you all know that Gann obviously likes and loves to square his charts and use angles and arcs and so on. So we need to square these trend lines somehow. And for that, we will use like the 74 degrees, and now you can ignore the minus. So you've got 74 degrees, and from 74 to 90, there are how much open? Like 16 degrees. Means that we have to draw on a 16 degrees, boom. So because now we've got here a rectangle, yeah, so this is 90 degrees. With that, now you have a trend line down and let's say a vertical and a horizontal trend line, and you see that from this pivot point, yeah, okay, the price retraced back to the trend line, snap back, chart goes up, comes down. Here it somehow oscillated around the trend line, go up again. But what happens now in the future? To see that, we can go in the settings again, extend right line. And what you will see now is that it came back again to the trend line, pulled back, came with high momentum, went through, and it was always high momentum when it broke through the trend line. Here we had some kind of a battle, and then it went down and it oscillated around this trend line. Now we can also extend this trend line to go and draw now from the next pivot point. So for that, to mark that, I mean, we had this pivot point here. So let's go to the next pivot point and look how the price behaves here. So we've got this point. And now, because we locked the chart and we draw our trend lines, and we always have now a rectangle here, 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 if you want, so 4 rectangles. So if we go now to the next pivot point here, you will see again, okay, the chart retraced here through this trend line. And a break of this trend line, never take that just as a reason for a trade. I mean, everybody knows that we need minimum 3 reasons for a trade. But we have like trend line break setups here on TRI. So you should know that we only take a trade or a setup if we break the trend line and on the other side we have some kind of market structure. But yeah, so let's get back to the trend lines. So here we have like a break of this trend line. It went up, okay, but snapped back again. So we can take this pivot point, and you see it just came down, paused here a little bit, and no trend change. Boom, down the trend line again. And then we can draw the trend line here, because, oh yeah, I mean, we could also take this point here maybe as a pivot. But you see that the energy where this initial move started just continues to repeat and repeat again. And this is the interesting thing I think, what I see on this way to draw trend lines. For example, here, if I take this pivot point or the closing price, how it gets respected. But just to have a rule for the beginning, I mean, if you feel something is righter or better because it gets respected more often and so on, you can try it out. But just to have a rule for the beginning, pivot to pivot, and on the second lower pivot, the other trend line. So based on that, you can draw your trend lines now and take this pivot, and you will see it here again. So same move also here, like you will see, down, break, down, up, and then here the same, down, break, down, up. And so this is, in my opinion, something like a harmonic move of the chart, of the price action. Here also down, stop or retrace, and boom, back down again. But you see that the steepness of the price action loses on weight. And yeah, maybe if we go further down here, here it is just only on the other side of the trend line, and it goes further, and then we have here some kind of a trend change and a break of this trend line here. Boom, you can see if we take this pivot point, how this angle gets respected also, not in the near future. I mean, this is a daily chart, yeah. So from this pivot, which is 24th January to February, and here 1st August. So this is 2017, yeah. And I mean, we can, yeah, just tell me. This is obviously an angle what gets respected. If we take this one here, yeah, I mean, we can we can also draw maybe a bullish example. Yeah, let's take this one here. Let me make it in a different color. So here, pivot to pivot, and change the color to orange or yellow. Let's take yellow. So yeah, you draw the trend line from pivot to pivot, and now we have to see, okay, 64 degrees up to 90 is 626. So this time we have to go into minus 26. boom. Yeah. So we have it here, and you can now. Whoa. I mean, you tell me. Yeah, probably if I. Yeah, let me try this. 70 degrees. 70 degrees to. No. I wanted to draw an uptrend. Yeah, you can take this one, or this. I mean, let's take this. And you see it already. 65 to 90 is 25. 25. So let's cancel this one. And yeah. So here, uptrend, fight, resistance. Yeah, we can take this one here. Yeah. Wow. Okay, that was a really good one. And maybe if you see the chart then coming down here, resistance, bam, bam, and the more often it gets respected, I mean, the more probably value has the trend line, or the more correct you draw it based on the initial move. So that means probably that you just caught this initial move quite good. And yeah, that's a way to, or that's another different, an extra way to draw trend lines and look for yeah, like confluences in the chart, and try it out and play around with it and tell me what you find out. Thanks for listening and take care. Good trading. Goodbye.